Hello, good afternoon, and welcome back to Mayor's Minutes. Happy April 17th, 2024. I'm live in the studio at MCS, the fabulous MCS, I should say. So thank you. And just a reminder as we get started, our platform has changed from Facebook Live to YouTube. So if you go out to the Methuen Community Studios YouTube site, you can enter in questions if you want to ask either myself or my guest a question. There you go. You can submit live questions on the Methuen Community Studios YouTube channel. So make sure you ask, the questions that are on your mind. So today's kind of focus is spring forward. I know I shouldn't say that. We don't do the spring forward anymore. Well, actually we do though, don't we? Mm-hmm. We did it a couple weeks ago. So, in Methuen, spring forward is cleanup time. And so like a lot of you out cleaning your yards, we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing from the city perspective, and hopefully you'll be able to participate. I'm going to deviate a little bit. Jim, I'm going to go to the slides first and go through some of the upcoming events, because some of what we want to talk about in today's show is in the upcoming events. So if we could go to the slides, yep, there you go. MCS, fabulous as always. So look at that. Methuen Community Cleanup for Earth Day is this coming Saturday, April 20th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So teams will be gathering at Tenney Street in the Arlington neighborhood, Veterans Memorial Park, and Riverside Park to help clean up the litter. And we'll provide anybody who shows up, who signs up, we'll provide you with trash pickers, gloves, and trash bags. There will also be free coffee and donuts for our volunteers. For more information, call 978-609-0575 or reach out via email to D. Beauregard at ci.methuen.ma.us. And that's Councilor DJ Beauregard, who's sitting here on my left. So, this is an important thing. We've done this. How many years have we done it, DJ?
Since 2020.
2020. Mm-hmm. So this is a recurring, and when I tell you, last year I think we filled 4 full dump trucks full of trash, right? And that's the good news. The bad news is it tells you people are still dumping stuff at the parks. So we would ask your cooperation. We've got some fabulous parks. I just came by the Pelham Street Field. It looks amazing. The grass looks good. So kudos to Mark Jordan and the team, getting out there and making it look so well from our DPW. We've got changes being made at all our parks to help make them look better. For example, we've got LED lights being installed over the next week to 10 days at Burnham Park, which is going to greatly improve, the on and off time of the lights, as the neighbors will appreciate, but also the ability of the people playing in the field to see, batted balls, etc., including our own junior varsity and varsity high school softball teams who play at Burnham Road. But the point in talking about that is all that is lost if when people show up, they see all this, and I'm going to say all this crap on the ground, right? And the mayor's talked about this since I've been in an office, talking about the fact that I just don't understand a culture where it's okay to just throw something on the ground, right? So this Saturday, go back to the slide if we could, this Saturday, April 20th, 10 to noon, sandwiched around opening day for Methuen Youth Baseball. But go back to the slides, please, if we could. Excuse me. Yep, that's this Saturday, April 20th, 2024, 10 a.m. to noon. So come on down and get some coffee and donuts, get some gloves, some pickers, and some trash bags. We'll ask you to pick up some, and we'll try to beat last year's record of 4 dump trucks. I don't know if that's a badge of honor or a badge of shame. It's one of the two. Next slide, please. And why are we doing it? So the 20th is Act Today for Agree to Tomorrow on Celebrate Earth Day. And we are going to announce, I met with Joe Cosgrove, who was also going to be in the program but had a family issue. We're looking at compostable options as well. And those of you who watch the City Council, you heard the chair ask me, so in May we will bring to the City Council an ordinance. So I want to say this, and if we can come back to me, my apologies, Methuen Community Studios. It is now time, clearly, for us to address the scofflaws in our trash program. And if you say, what do you mean by that? So for those of you who live in the city of Methuen, who took advantage of the extra recycle barrel, thank you to that. For those of you who took advantage of the extra recycling barrel so that you could throw more trash out, we reserve the right to thank you on that. In fact, what's going to happen is we are proposing to City Council an approach to increase the fines associated with dumping trash into recycles. And there's going to be a program that says, 2 warnings with stickers where you don't have to pay money. On the 3rd warning, there's going to be a fine. And I say that because, quite candidly, if you're sitting here and you're thinking you're smarter than the mayor, you're smarter than the city, you probably are that. But you're not when you think you're putting out 4 recycle barrels that are full of trash and that we're not noticing. So a lot of feedback from Harvey, a lot of feedback from the city workers. And, this all goes in with the theme of making our neighborhoods look better, beautiful and better. So this Saturday, 10 to 11, come out, help us pick up some of the trash, have some free coffee and donuts, watch some of the Methuen youth baseball teams. Great kids doing their opening day ceremonies this Saturday, right? So, we want you to participate in all that, but we want the city to look as good as possible as well, right? Next slide. All right, the listening tour continues. Somebody told me I talked too much at the listening tour. My apologies for that. I want to answer your questions, so that's right. So this coming Tuesday, April 23rd, from 6:30 to 8, we'll be at the Sweetheart Inn, 80 Myrtle Street, Methuen, and that's for residents in the West End, right? I don't often like to, but if you missed one, you can come. But we're looking for a neighborhood feel and approach in these discussions. So we did 2 in the East End to start at Borelli's and at Merrimack Valley Golf Course. Then we did the first one in the West at the Irish Cottage. Then we're going to have this one on the 23rd at the Sweetheart Inn, the historic Sweetheart Inn. And we hope you get to drop by and talk about, what's on your mind in the west part of the city. We do have department heads on hand. We have several councilors that attend, and it's a good place for you to talk about, some of the things that you understand, like good discussion at City Council last night from my perspective on the roads, outstanding presentation by the Deputy Director of DPW, and he's presented a list to Council of streets that the DPW feels should be paved. They should be the priority streets, and City Council has a week to kind of come back to those and say, well, instead of doing this street, can you do this street? So that's all in the offing now. But by all means, show up Tuesday, April 23rd. If you think the roads are in poor conditions, you're probably right. But with the $4 million we put in capital over the next 5 years, and Felix went through the numbers at City Council last night, so you can watch it online, we will get ahead of the game. We'll eat ahead of the game every year instead of being behind. That's great. Next slide. Also with the cleanup motif, we've got the leaf yard waste brush program, which started on Monday, April 8th, and is ongoing through November 30th. I think it's the longest we've ever done that in the city. We now own our alpaca truck. Residents required to put your leaves and yard waste in paper bags only, no plastic bags. No plastic bags at all. You can also put them in barrels that are marked with the orange sticker that says yard waste, right? But do not use plastic bags. If you use plastic bags, they will not get picked up. Brush cannot be in any type of bags. Brush and branches must be tied in bundles, no more than 4 feet in length and 4 inches in diameter. And all of these are done on your recycle week, right? So we had the holiday this Monday. Everything's off by a day. It's pushed back a day. So if you're normally today is Wednesday, so if you're normally a Tuesday pickup, your trash pickup would have happened today, right? And your recycle pickup. Next slide. Street sweeping is ongoing, all part of making the city look better. So we're in the week of April 15th. Precincts 5 and 7 are being swept. please, you can help us by not making piles in the curb, right? Those piles do not help the sweepers. And we just bought a second sweeper, to be honest with you, so going to be able to improve even our performance here. Next slide. This is from the Senior Center. May 9th is the Arts and Crafts Festival at 8:30 a.m. That's always well attended. There's a jewelry sale in the lobby. 10 a.m. is the grand opening celebration of National Older Americans Month. And then at 1 o'clock, the Happy Hearts will sing. And then later in June, June 14th at 3 p.m., the Methuen Senior Activity Center celebrates its 40th anniversary. We want to see as many of you there as possible. Come on down. Next slide. Probably one of the most talked about or anticipated events in the city is the fishing derby. When we run it in the fall, they ask about it in the spring. When we run it in the spring, they ask about it in the fall. So we're running it Saturday, May 11th this year from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a free event open to Methuen residents of all ages at that Hidden Diamond, Forest Lake. So come on up there. You can get your fishing. There's no registration required. Participants can, either, join there or from the shore or from a boat. You can use either one. So I've seen some people in past years go out in the boat. On the conclusion, I will be there and award the fishing trophies. And as always, there's lunch and refreshments provided by Methuen Firefighters Local 1691. And I want to pause here and say, reflect on how much our firefighters union does for the city. They do a ton. They give back a ton. So Methuen Fishing Derby, Saturday, May 11th. The weather's starting to turn. It's about 57 degrees and sunny outside. That's not too bad.
It's very nice.
A little better than SNOW, right?
That's right.
Okay, next slide. Skate and Read program continues through May 30th from 4 to 6 p.m. on every Tuesday and Thursday. Cost is $180. For more information, visit MethuenRec.com. Next slide. The Methuen Scouts, if you're looking for things for your kids to do, have them join up with the Boy or the Girl Scouts. We got Pack 52 Mondays at St. Lucy's, Troop 60 Mondays at St. Lucy's, Troop 51 Tuesdays at the VFW, and a new troop, 1920, which is Mondays at St. Lucy's at 7 o'clock. Contact the people on email on your screen, either Mr. Corcoran or Ms. Breen, and they can help you determine what's the right time to go. They also teach you, I don't get into this much, being a member of the Scouts teaches you a lot of life skills, right? Survival, for example. So always a good thing. And, we've had the good fortune to have students who were Eagle Scout candidates and did a marvelous job, right? So next slide, please. The Lacrosse Summer Clinic, August 6th through 8th. Register now at, MethuenLax.com. So get out there and learn the fastest growing sport in America. Next slide. The annual flag replacement is a student-led event on Saturday, May 18th, 2024. Second graders from St. Monica's will be singing at the event, is my understanding. We need as many volunteers as possible. It's a great event at Elmwood Cemetery. It says breakfast served starting at 8:30, which is kind of unique. So we haven't done that before. It's coffee and donuts. I don't know if he means breakfast or coffee and donuts. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So you can sign up online with that sign in below, or by scanning the QR code that's on the slide, or by calling the Veterans Office at 978-983-8585. Let's do the right thing. So this is all about recognizing our service members, excuse me, and what they've done, to kind of help our country be the greatest country on the face of the earth. Next slide. A Veterans Pig Roast at Forest Lake, and there's the pig cahoon right there. Free to all veterans and their families from the city of Methuen to honor your service and contributions to our community. Events for kids like a bouncy house, so plan on bringing in children and grandchildren. Bring a lawn chair and a beverage. It's Sunday, June 23rd, 11 to 3, rain or shine. And I'm guessing the weather will be pretty good by then, right? It's a joint event with the Bedford Veterans Administration, who have various booths with info on VA benefits. So other providers are welcome. Please contact the Veterans Office. But come on out and enjoy each other, have a good time. Hidden Gem, Forest Lake. Next slide. Methuen Youth Soccer, the summer programs are coming soon. So June 24th through 28th and August 12th through 16th. Registration will be opening soon. Look on MethuenSoccer.org. Next. The Tricentennial, we've got a kickoff meeting coming up where we're trying to get a group to plan and prepare for Methuen's 300th. Right, it's a significant achievement. We want the team to lead us. What do we want to do? Do we want to have a ball? Do we want to have a parade? Do we want to do both? Are there other things that we want to do? So kickoff is coming at the Memorial Organ Hall, but this will not be a mayor-led event or an administration-led event, I should say. This will be a citizen-led event. We look back, and I think I said this last week, at pictures of slides from 250th, and people like Jim Weymouth and others like that were prominent in the getting the city ready for what to celebrate. Next, please. That's it? Okay. So there's a couple missing that I want to throw in that should be in there. I said this last week. So Jordan, if you're listening, the Taste of Methuen happens May 22nd. Tables are available for $400. Tickets are $40 each. That is at the
Armory.
The Armory, the National Guard Armory up on Route 110. It's a fantastic event, and it's the largest fundraiser that the Exchange Club does. So if you're driving around and you see those pinwheels for prevention of child abuse, that's the main mission of the Exchange Club. $40 a ticket. $40 gets you admission into the event, and there are literally hundreds of food vendors who provide their caterings for you to take. Harrow's Pies, in the past, Borelli's been there. I mean, all kinds of different places with different tastes. JG's Ice Cream, personal favorite of the mayor's. Those are all there. So you can walk in for $40. You eat as much as you want. Stroll and feed. And there's also buckets that, baskets that are raffled off. And you have an opportunity to come and bid on those baskets as well up to dinner time. That's the Taste of Methuen event. And what was the one thing I said I was going to mention? Must be getting old because I can't remember. So I'm going to turn my attention to our guest, Councilor DJ Beauregard. Welcome back, DJ, I should say. Is this third or fourth time?
Second time this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second time.
I'm not keeping count.
Yeah.
I only remember the number
four.
because
Well, welcome
I think
back.
I was just here.
And so you're a large part of spiriting the cleanup activities. Let's talk a little bit about that first. Talk a little bit about the event Saturday and what you hope to have.
Sure. So when I was a student at Methuen High, I was a part of a group called the Methuen Youth Corps. It's no longer in existence, but for several years, whoever was a part of it had the opportunity to sign up to take part in various community activities. In fact, back, I want to say, maybe 15 years ago, roughly, over a decade for sure, the Youth Corps was the main driving force behind the flag replacement initiative at the time. And so one of the other things that we had done quite a bit of was planning community cleanups. And in 2019, when you were running for mayor, I was running for the council for the first time, we talked about how it was really important to tackle the issue of litter in the city. It's a pervasive issue, and it's something that I think we all, as residents, have an obligation, really, to try to do whatever we can in big ways and small ways to improve the environment in our community. And so one of the things that we began to do, and this was actually around the time when the pandemic was in full force, it was an opportunity for folks to get out of the house, to make a positive contribution to the community in terms of helping with the litter cleanup efforts. And it was just a great community building exercise, that first cleanup that we did back then. And what's great too is I want to give a shout out to a resident named Emily Kaminsky. She, prior to 2020, that period, she had planned her own cleanups in her neighborhood and in neighborhoods around the city. And she is going to be involved on Saturday as well.
Super.
Yeah, it's great. And so the long and short of it is we, every year we'll pick several parks in the city. We'll do a cleanup in the springtime and a cleanup in the fall. And we will select usually a park, or just in general an area, in each district. And this year on Saturday, as you mentioned, the Central District cleanup, we're going to focus on the Arlington neighborhood down on Tenney Street. In the East End, we'll have a cleanup site at the Veterans Park. Mm-hmm. And then in the West End, we'll be cleaning up Riverside Park. But what's great is each year, every time we plan a cleanup, we give residents in various neighborhoods the opportunity to organize their own cleanup in their own neighborhood. So what we're doing is, it's great for people to show up, but we really want folks to sign up ahead of time.
Yep.
So on Methuen.gov, there's a link to a Google form. And that way we can get a head count so we can have enough supplies, enough refreshments, et cetera. That's important for us. Yep. And the other thing that I want to mention, it's something that came up, I think, the first or second time we organized the cleanup. There were a few residents who reached out, and they said, well, why are you organizing events for residents to help pick up trash? That's DPW's job. And I would hear that, right. And the thing about it is, the DPW, Mark Jordan, these folks do a fantastic job cleaning up litter around the city. The problem is that when it comes to litter, cleaning up litter, it's like shoveling while it's still snowing. Mm-hmm. You could have entire parks, entire areas of the city cleaned up, and then in just a couple of days. Yeah. It's so unfortunate, but it's just how it goes. Yeah. The area will be in need of more attention. And so this is just an opportunity, I think, again, getting back to that idea of community building and giving everybody an opportunity to have some ownership in terms of our local environment.
Now, one of the things you did that I really like is, while we're doing stuff at the parks and we've got supplies, and if you sign up in advance, and let's say you want to do your neighborhood, that's A-okay as far as we're concerned. So if you sign up in advance, we will have supplies delivered to your neighborhood to kind of help facilitate the pickup, the cleanup of your neighborhood. And, to your point, I love that you said that. Litter is like, you use shoveling when it's still snowing. I use the term turning your back on the tide, right? As soon as you turn around, it's there again. And so personal appeal to everybody. Stop throwing things on the ground. And that includes when you're at our parks. Curb your dogs. We've got a big problem at Veterans Park with people who don't curb their dogs. They take them out on our baseball fields and have them do their business and leave them behind. And then some poor, unfortunate baseball player finds it, if you will, right? If I could use that. So, this is not just about cleaning up the parks. This is not about doing DPW's work. We've got an aggressive plan to improve our parks and fields across the city this year and the next several years. And the only thing that can make that better is your help, right? If you see somebody littering, tell them, stop, right? And in fact, I want to mention, so we had a discussion at City Council last night. We put the next phase of the cameras in, the citywide camera program. We had 50 with the first wave, we had 50 with the second wave. And while not the main intent, one of the secondary intents is so that they can see, so we can see if there's any potential dumping spots. And I give a perfect example. The city just spent almost $3 million to redo the Gill Avenue Playstead. And I'm dating myself by calling it that. And it looks spectacular. And there's going to be a grand opening here in less than a month. But we've also installed cameras nearby So one time I'll tell you a location so that we can see the park and we can see if people are dumping things, because Gill Avenue, believe it or not, is one of the high dumping areas in the city for couches. We had somebody a couple weeks ago right here. What's the name of the street? Is it Aegean Drive? Why can't I think? What's Danton across the way? So we had an individual driving in a pickup truck and dumped 15 used mattresses. So, hopefully you've seen and you're following that the city's got a process for disposal of mattresses. You can call the DPW and they'll get it picked up. But those are the kind of things that the camera program, in addition to helping our public safety providers with, eyes across the city, if you will, it also provides eyes across the city for dumping and trash. And I can tell you, I talk to Chief McNamara regularly about, when we find people dumping, like the individual did the 15 mattresses, you got to hit them hard. You got to hit them hard and make them sure they understand that that's an unacceptable behavior. Okay, so Saturday, and as you said, we'll probably do it again in the fall, DJ. Who participates? Besides volunteers, who else participates in the event?
Well, what's great is we have numerous corporate partners who are involved as it relates to providing volunteers. So this year on Saturday, Walmart is sending a crew out to help with one of the parks. But what's great is, we're commemorating Earth Day. And as part of it, it's not really limited to picking up litter. The Walmart crew, they are planning on going out and planting upwards of 5 trees across the city, which is great. And so we're coordinating with Mark and DPW about exactly where those will be planted. And then also, I believe, I've heard that Methuen, the baseball team, they're going to be involved as well. So what's wonderful is that, we have individual volunteers from the community. We have entire families that sign up to come and help out, which is great. Parents will bring their kids, and it's a great opportunity. The one thing I need to mention, and we are very clear about this whenever folks sign up, there are unfortunately many items that are left behind in parks that are not to be touched. Examples include needles and the like. It's very sad that things like that are left behind in a public setting, but they are. Mm-hmm. And so anytime we have, say, children participating in the cleanup, we're very cognizant of making sure that, if anybody finds a hazardous item that is not to be picked up by a resident, alert me or alert DPW, and we'll make sure that that's handled appropriately. But long and short of it, individuals, families, local companies are helping out. So we have a pretty diverse group that'll be out there. We had a Girl Scouts troop last year do the park on Osgood Street. Yes. Riverwalk. Mm-hmm. Riverwalk? Am I saying that right? I always get the one on 110 and I believe it is Riverwalk. Yeah. So there was a local Girl Scout group, about 6 or 7 Girl Scouts. They did the pickup of Riverwalk Park. They did a fabulous job. So, want to get everybody out there, want to get everybody, the weather forecast is 65 and slightly overcast. That's not bad, right? The mayor loves to hear that forecast because the SNOW word is not in it. So I don't know if it's global warming or what, but the last 3 years, our winters have been pretty mild, right? All things considered. Right. God bless. Okay. One other thing, Mayor, I wanted to share too. So last fall, we had the fall cleanup was in the Arlington neighborhood. We focused exclusively on the Tenney Street area, again, like we will be doing on Saturday. And there were several students who they live in Methuen, but one student attends UMass Lowell. There was another from Merrimack, and several other students from the high school were involved as well. And it was an opportunity for them to gain service hours. So that's a great incentive for Methuen students to participate, and we're happy to provide documentation regarding the service hours. So I just wanted to point that out too. Yeah, that's a great thing. So we've done that in the past, and we should continue to do that because service hours
ought to be recognized. And most schools have them now, right? So if you're in high school or college, or if you're in Griffin and there's service hours required, sign up for this event, earn some of your service hours, right? Get it done rather than waiting. Okay, I wanted to, because this is Earth Day, is there anything else you want to say about Earth Day? Because I want to ask you some Notre Dame kind of questions, if that's okay, while you're here.
Sure.
You're back at Notre Dame. How long have you been with Notre Dame?
Well, so Notre Dame Cristo Rey. Yeah. So it's a high school that was originally founded 20 years ago this year in the city of Lawrence. And they had originally operated out of, it was the former St. Mary's school building on Haverhill Street in Lawrence. And in 2020, around that time, PMA unfortunately had to close. And there were some issues with Notre Dame in Lawrence, namely surrounding their rent situation. So that building that they had operated out of, they had to pay rent to, I believe, there's actually, so at Notre Dame, there's no affiliation directly with the Archdiocese of Boston.
Right.
But they had to pay rent to the Archdiocese to use that building. And so with the closure of PMA, there was an opportunity clearly for ownership, which is something that is very important to the president of the organization, just in terms of our long-term strategic plan. And so Notre Dame Cristo Rey ended up purchasing the PMA property in 2020. Now, for the longest time, that property, the Searles Estate, was one parcel in essence. But when Notre Dame Cristo Rey purchased the school buildings, the property was divided.
Subdivided, yeah.
And so now technically Notre Dame Cristo Rey, in the context of the broader Searles Estate, technically abutting the remaining areas of the property. So that happened in 2020. And the thing about the school is that it is probably one of the best kept secrets in the Merrimack Valley in terms of the work that they do. I encounter so many people who have never really heard of the program.
Yeah.
And the school is exclusively geared towards students from low-income families. A lot of students from Lawrence, but we now have more students from Methuen, several students from Haverhill, and I think there's even a student or two now from Lowell. And these students, they must come from families that meet very specific income guidelines. So the average family of four at Notre Dame Cristo Rey, family income for an average family of four is $41,000 a year. Ooh. And so the whole purpose behind the program is to provide a college preparatory education to these students, give them the opportunity to, say, get an education that they would otherwise get at St. John's Prep or something like that. So it's college preparatory. But the way that it's funded is through its corporate work study program. And so the school partners with various companies such as Raytheon, MITRE down in Burlington, Mercury Systems in Andover, Enterprise Bank is a significant partner. And the students will go out to work 1 day a week. And they, in essence, earn their own tuition. And so it's a great opportunity to not only build experience and build a resume during high school for these students, but what's outstanding is the results that the school can boast. So every year, without interruption, since the first graduating class in 2008, 100% of the students have been accepted to four-year colleges and universities.
That's great.
And what's great is also is we have an alumni counselor who, in essence, follows the students for 6 years after they graduate to track their progress and to maintain a connection. And 71% roughly of the students who go on to college end up finishing their degree within those 6 years.
Outstanding.
Which is outstanding. And what's great, too, is at the school we now have, as part of our team, Jim Weymouth. He's the athletic director. And Maria McLaughlin, she was a college counselor at Methuen High School when I was there. And she's involved, too. And, I think in terms of the program itself, what's really neat is there was one student who worked at Raytheon all 4 years. and she ended up going to college, graduating from, I believe, Merrimack. Speaking of Merrimack, she now works for Raytheon full-time.
Excellent.
And so people like that, they are really the mission of the
Yeah.
school actualized.
Yeah.
And I think there's another piece of the story of Notre Dame that's really remarkable. So we have, it's called an Alumni Emergency Fund. And I'll give you the context. So the vision and mission of the school is really to get students not just to college, but through college. And we find there are many students who will go to college in different parts of the country, and they struggle with expenses associated with simply staying in school, whether it's the cost of books, the cost of food, health care, medicine, etc. And so we have this fund that, in essence, it acts like a grant.
Yep.
Where, let's say you are attending college, you're a Notre Dame alum, and you apply for assistance through this fund. The school, through the generous donors to the program, will provide the funding that you need to afford your books, to afford these various expenses, with the goal of ensuring that you're able to stay in school. And something that is amazing, during the pandemic, that March in 2020, when all of a sudden the world shut down, there were alums of the school who had been, going to college in California, the Chicago area, Texas, all over the country. And all of a sudden, they were either going to be stranded at college, or they somehow needed to come up with the money to pay for a plane ticket
Yep.
to come back home to Lawrence.
Yep.
And there were many students who were unable to do that. So they reached out through this program. And we were able to bring many students, the exact number, I'd have to go through the records, but we were able to bring students home.
That's great.
During the pandemic.
That's great. Now, I want to say something here. So if somebody's watching, so the city of Methuen's also had good luck with the corporate work study program. We've brought in.
In the city's, just to mention a disclosure, unpaid partner. So city's a nonprofit, so no financial.
But I guess the reason I bring that up is these are talented young individuals who are looking to work. I don't want you to think you have to be a Raytheon or a big company like that. Smaller companies can take advantage of the work-study program too, and they can connect with, I know it's not you, but who's the individual that...
So we have, actually, he's an attorney from Portsmouth who joined our team recently, and he's the director of the corporate work-study program. His name is Dean Graziano, a great guy, and he's working on building that facet of the organization.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're out there and you're running a business in Methuen or elsewhere, there's the opportunity to bring in some fantastically talented young individuals. As DJ said, we did, have a couple working at the city of Methuen for free, and we appreciate that. They worked in the city clerk's office, and I think it was a beneficial experience both for them and the city. Right, really helped, and they learned a lot about the election process in the ongoing. Right, and we could talk volumes about the election process because we got another presidential election coming up here, but we won't, because otherwise the show will be over before I know it. Okay, so beyond that, and I say this to you, as a fan of history, when I've gone back in to visit Notre Dame, I'm struck by, just how beautiful it is by the walls there, and I want to make sure the constituents understand. So the former PMA campus is really subdivided now, and it's subdivided by the old East Street. And some of you might say, well, Mayor, we still have the East Street. We have East Street, but we have the East Street that existed after Mr. Searles negotiated with the town. Because the original East Street cuts right up through the PMA property. And actually, if you go behind the walls at all, you'll see the little, he built a bridge for him to go over East Street so that he would not have to walk out in front of the locals. Fantastic historical story. But I digress. So we talked about Earth Day. We talked a little bit about our work, the corporate work program. What else would you like to touch on from a Notre Dame perspective? I want to give you, you're good enough to fill in here for Joe Cosgrove bailing at the last minute because of a family member sick. So we want to let you plug what you want to plug.
Yeah,
This is
sure.
like being on Carson, and I've got a movie out, so I want to plug it. You know?
Well, it's great to have the opportunity to share the story of the school. It's just something that I think, it's a very recognizable program in Lawrence, but I think the level of recognition in Methuen is certainly not what it is in Lawrence, simply due, I think, to the fact that many of the students are Lawrence-based. But we do have Methuen students who are there, and it's just a great opportunity, I think, to provide for a level playing field for students who otherwise wouldn't have access to these opportunities. And, it's been my job for the past roughly 5 years to focus on the growth and expansion, really, of the organization from a financial standpoint, but also from an operational standpoint, too. And for me, it's something, you're never going to get rich in the nonprofit world, certainly working for a school the size of Notre Dame Christopher, but for me it's really a labor of love to be able to be a part of that work, and it's been a great experience.
Yeah. Well, let's switch themes a little bit. Well, we got two comments. So Nancy Reardon said, regarding the flag replacement, Ellie's Farmhouse in the past provided an assortment of breakfast sandwiches, and maybe that's the plan again this year. They'd say, Mayor, get a grip, get involved. And then Teresa Weger-Henkel, hello, Teresa, we've missed you. You've been absent for. Said the fishing derby hosted by the Methuen Fire Department, Saturday 5/11 at Forest Lake from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sounds like fun. It always is. And I'm telling you, they stock the lake. The state stocks the lake just before we do the fishing derby. And there's some good-sized fish that are brought in. I remember last year, the winner was good-sized fish. Let's talk a little bit about City Council, if we can. So you, like me, you're 4+ years in, 4.5, let's say. Let's talk about, what are the things you're proudest of that we can accomplish in those 4.5 years?
So I have adopted the mindset, and I think this is, you mentioned the Scouts earlier.
Yep.
That idea of leaving the place better than it was when you found it. That's been my mantra, if you will, as a counselor. And I think, at the end of the day, if you look at where Methuen was in 2020, and if you look at it now, just overall, it's really night and day. A great example, and this is something that, I don't know if I mentioned this here before, but it's something that it's amusing to think back at. So, you wonder, okay, what can you do as a local elected official to make meaningful change? Potentially a large change or a small change. And there was a moment when I had an epiphany in going to the transfer station.
Yeah.
And for years, anytime you wanted to go to the transfer station, you needed to have a checkbook.
Yep.
Couldn't use a debit card, couldn't use, any electronic payment methods. You had to have your checkbook. And, you look at where our world is today, I believe that the first debit card, credit card type arrangement came about back in the 50s or the 60s, the store cards.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible to think that, okay, that technology or that capability came into being all those years ago. And now, okay, 2020, 2021, going to the transfer station, you can't use that technology. You need to have, the old-fashioned checkbook. And so I mention this because it's interesting where you see something that, okay, this can be better. We can do this better, more efficiently. And so how do we do that? So you brought on Luis Santiago, who is
fantastic.
Incredible.
Yep.
Absolutely incredible. So in reaching out to Luis, how can we get a card reader down at the transfer station? How can we have an opportunity, maybe if people want to use Venmo or something like that? Yeah. And he was able to simply put together a program, and now if you go down there, they have the card reader.
Right.
And so that's something that is not a significant example.
Right.
But nevertheless, it's an example of this incremental progress that we try to make, bit by bit, to make government work more efficiently and to better serve our customers, and that's the people of the city. Yeah. And so, I know you believe this, I believe this, government really should be run like a business.
It should.
And, at the end of the day, we need, and I say at the end of the day a lot, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
We need to be focused on results, on moving the ball down the field. I love
Amen.
using that term.
Yeah.
I believe it sincerely.
Yeah.
And these actions that we take, big and small, contribute to that. And I think, we just need to keep on keeping
They
on.
do. You mentioned you want to, so I want to go back to the transfer station for a minute and say there's a change that's been made and a pending change that I want to talk about. So the change that's been made is, you talked about the debit card. That was huge. But also, we got reports from constituents that when they, backed onto the scale is only visible inside to the employee. And so, they're paying for an amount that the employee comes, and they said, we don't know how much our load weighed. And Lewis and the team put in a digital scale that as you drive on the scale itself, there's 3 big red markers up there, and it literally weighs your load so that you know what you're paying for versus, right? Because I can't think if you went to the grocery store, and you told the deli counter guy, I want half a pound of bologna. Do you not pay attention when they put it on the scale? I do.
Right.
I always do, right? Yeah. That's one. And then the second thing is we've had a local artist, John Hadley, and thanks to him, he designed a series of signs for the transfer station that I think are going to make a significant difference. And the reason I say this is because they're going to be large enough and colorful. They're color-coded, and they tell you where to bring what kind of, if you're bringing down like cardboard, there'll be one sign with a white and X color, and it'll say cardboard here. Metals, another color, and that's all in the process of happening as we speak. So it's going to look better. I do want to say that eventually over time, before I leave office, I want to use some capital improvement money to refurbish the transfer station because we've had fires there, believe it or not. I don't know if you know. We had one last year, and it did a significant amount of damage to the building. So all in the offing. But yeah, and to me, that's in keeping with the Earth Day kind of discussion, right? How do you make your planet better? I agree with you 1,000%. Leave it a little bit better than you found it, and hopefully that's going to be the case here. I think it is. I think we're headed towards another year in the black. And I want to explain something, while we're here. So we got people saying, why does the mayor not give out all the free cash money? And the simple reason is that's not what the Commonwealth of Massachusetts recommends. So we've worked very hard to get to a free cash level that is recognized by the state, that is the highest in the city's history. But just because it's the highest in the city's history doesn't mean it's around what the state says you should have. And that money should be saved for a rainy day, not paid into ongoing events like collective bargaining. And so we are going to use some of our free cash for collective bargaining this year in some of the negotiations because we simply have to. That's the nature of what we're at. But I think, it would be helpful to kind of have our CAFO come on the show and explain some of the different terms associated with, our revenues, et cetera. And the constituents may not know, but our city council voted, and I know you know, Councilor, voted into ordinances that clip the revenue stream by about $1 million, right? And an important question was asked at the city council the other night by one of the councilors, and she said, Councilor Soto, the vice chair, said, doesn't it have to be made up elsewhere? And the answer is yes, if we're taxing to the same level. So that's important to know. We've got that. We've got the pending issue, the weighing issue of Holy Family Hospital that's on the mayor's mind, which they currently pay $1.5 million to the city for tax revenue yearly. If anything would happen, that revenue stream would disappear. And you might say, well, why is the mayor talking about it? Because balancing the books is not just about the position you sit in today. It's being able to forecast what's going to happen, both from a revenue and expense perspective. And I use those two examples because losing that $1 million of revenue, while it's for good cause to help our seniors and our vulnerable populations, our veterans, for example, that revenue does have to be made up. And so that's, always, it may look like we're not for a certain thing. I think in my mind, I think we just want to make sure we understand it fully before we enact it, right? And that's a big piece. Oh, we get some questions. The mayor's listening tour has been interesting so far. So the next one is Tuesday. So Teresa's like my ad merchant out there, right? Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, and I appreciate you saying it's been listening so far. That means you've been to more than one, which is not really what we thought would happen, but hey, the more the merrier. Some colleges are offering huge alumni discounts for graduate degrees. Merrimack College does, and I believe Northeastern University offers these alumni discounts as well. If you're in the offing to go back to school, by all means take advantage of that, or we can share that with our folks from Notre Dame Cristo Rey. So we got about 5 minutes left. I want to come back and give you a chance. Yeah.
I wanted to mention something. You alluded to free cash earlier, and that idea of fiscal management. And I saw recently a publication or something on social media. It was an image of a printout that has been going around the city.
Yeah.
And it refers to free cash.
Yeah.
And it talks about how, free cash technically can be, and this blew my mind.
Yeah.
It said free cash technically can be a negative number.
Never.
And I saw that, and it was as part of an argument for utilizing free cash on, various collective.
Salaries. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the thing that I want to reiterate, and something that I think, the residents, I want to keep reminding folks of this. When you took office as mayor of the city, our city was in a ditch. We had this $4 million deficit. We were not in a good financial position
Our bond
at
rating
all.
stunk.
Our bond rating was in the toilet.
Yep.
And over the past few years, collectively, your administration, the CAFO, working with the council,
Yeah.
we've all tried to work together
We have.
to improve that situation.
Yep.
And get us to a point, and you mentioned this at a prior time, how as of right now, we have the highest, and actually Sean Cronin mentioned this, city has the highest level of free cash that we've ever had in the city's history.
Yep.
And that's not something to be just completely expended overnight.
Right.
We need to preserve that.
Right.
We need to protect
Right.
that free cash reserve
For
going
events that
forward.
could happen, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing too is, that helps us with our bond rating, which, makes it easier for us to say, go out for funding for investments in various projects in the community. And so that's something that looking forward at the future, we can't blow through that. We need to preserve it.
Agree.
And I just wanted to mention
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think one of the things, an example of adding to that is it's easy to look at what you have in your hand today and make an assessment. But sometimes you have to kind of be a seer. And let me explain what I mean by that. So, the state is raising some, I don't want to call them red flags, maybe orange, deep orange flags, right, over revenue streams. So that's an alert to the mayor, right, that says, okay, will we get all of the state aid that we get? And by that, there's different avenues. We get 1.1 million in Chapter 90 money. That's what we pave our roads with. We get 165,000 in unrestricted government aid, and the schools get ballpark. I think it's almost 5 million in Chapter 70 money this year, and they got 8 last year. We have to prepare for what happens if the state doesn't give Methuen X. It's not good practice to not plan ahead of that. So we do have a 5-year, with the help of council, a 5-year fiscal forecast that we look at regularly. But certain things happen, like we watch the state and what they're doing now, and that may require some changes on our part, right? We're in the process of putting the budget together for FY25. The tough part there is, and I say this, people, it would be easy to be mayor if the answer was always yes. But it's not. So we have to balance the needs and services of the city with what the constituents can afford. And that's always never easy. We talked about it, I think, a couple council meetings ago, the volume, the sheer volume, excuse me, of 911 calls that we get for our ambulances. We literally could keep 4 ambulances busy all day, right? And part of that is, we've got shared jobs with other communities where if they're tied up, we cover for them. But I can tell you that, you're going to see some statistics when you look at this year's budget, and I want people to mark your calendars. Come to the budget workshops, right? Come to the budget workshops. See what happens. See the volume of transactions that's being created. And I'm not talking just about the ambulances. I'm talking about see the number of transactions we get for business certificates, for permits. All of that has grown exponentially since the pandemic. So all that has to be planned in. Long-winded answer. It would be easy if it was just calculating based on what you have in the bank and what you have going forward. But all the conditions change and have to be monitored, right? All right, so we're about 2 minutes from wrapping up. I'm going to come back to you and say, what one thing do you want to impart on the constituents of Methuen that you maybe haven't had a chance to say yet? And it could be related to either Notre Dame or to your job as city councilor. I think, you've done a commendable job as a city councilor. I believe that when we leave office, I think we'll be able to look at each other and say, it's in a better place now, right? So your 2 cents.
Well, I think this gets back to that conversation about Earth Day. So I've been passionate about civic involvement since I was a kid. Actually, this traces back to January of 2006. I was 17 years old. And then Mayor Bill Manzi was sworn in. And he stated during his inaugural address, he said, government works best when it works together with the community and various stakeholders. And that inspired me to get more involved. I ended up working in his office when I was in high school, and that was a great opportunity that few high school students have the chance to have. And through that, I just saw the immense value in just plugging yourself in to various elements of the community, whether it's helping with a cleanup or taking part. I know we're going to have the tricentennial group. So I would just encourage residents to do what you can to get involved in areas that fit your skills, your interests, and I think when we all make these contributions, big or small, at the end of the day, I always say that phrase. Ultimately, we all can contribute to making our community better. Yeah, you can, and there's no bones about that. All right, the good weather's coming. We want you to get out. I should have a slide that says Methuen Youth Baseball is their opening day is this coming Saturday. We wish them nothing but the best. And it would not be correct of me to finish the program without saying, and patronize our sponsors. The Thwaites, the Bada Bings, the Borellis, the Manns, the Raymond's Turkey Farms, all these places that are the backbone of this community and support these youth organizations, etc. They deserve your support as well. So thank you very much, DJ, for coming on. Thanks for having me.
I don't know if it's like Saturday Night Live where you get like a special robe after you've been on 5 times or something, but maybe we can talk about that. It'll have to be cheap because I can't afford much, especially after tax day. We're back here next week. We hope to see you. The weather's great. Get out and walk. Get out and see the parks. Come to the listening sessions. There are 3 more coming. The one next week at Sweetheart Inn, and then there are 2 to be scheduled for the Central District in May. So we hope to see you at some of those and talk about what things we can do to make our city even more attractive to folks. In the meantime, this is the mayor with DJ Beauregard saying God bless you all. Get outside, enjoy that vitamin D sunshine, and we'll see you back here next week on Mayor's Minutes. Thank you.